Hey, what's up, book lovers? My name is Maryam and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with a book talk for Furthermore by Tahira Mafi. This will be a non-spoiler book talk. So I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't really like it, but I didn't really hate it either. I do have to say though that it was a bit of a disappointment because I had loved the second 2 books of the Shatter Me trilogy by Tahira Mafi so very much that I expected a lot from this book, and I don't think that I got really what I wanted. So this book follows our main character, Alice, who is born into this place called Fernwood. And in Fernwood, everyone is full of color. They're lively and full of color. And Alice was not born with color. She was born pale. As you can see, this is her on the cover. And because of that, she feels very lonely and left out of the community that she lives in because everyone looks at her as someone without color, someone who isn't normal, basically. And I really thought that aspect of this book was interesting because it kind of flipped that aspect of society on its head. And Alice's father has disappeared 3 years ago. And this book really focuses on Alice going on this adventure to get her father back with our other main character, Oliver Newbanks. She goes into the land of Furthermore, which is where her father is, to find him and get him back. So there were some things that I really liked about this book, and there were just some things that I really didn't. So the first thing I want to talk about is the writing. I absolutely loved the writing in this book. Tahira Mafi is such a fantastic writer. She writes beautifully and gorgeously, and I just love all of the writing in this book. This was a very quotable book to me. Like, there were a lot of quotes that I really enjoyed. Her metaphors are just perfect, and the way that she writes emotion is so beautifully put and vivid, and I really enjoyed that aspect of this book. So the next thing I want to talk about is the world that is in this book. And a lot of people have said that the world is not really that cohesive or fleshed out, and that's kind of true, but I feel like that's probably why I liked it, because this book is just so out there that it really stretches your imagination and it really makes you think. There were a lot of things that were just whimsical and really out there, like really crazy, and I really liked that part of this book. Like, it really kind of made me feel like I was a kid again, because this is a middle grade book, but like, it kind of made me feel like I was a kid again, because when you're little, you know, you don't think about all those little minute details in a world. It kind of threw me back into that mindset, and I really enjoyed that. Just like everything is possible to you, and you're not really thinking, oh, but like how or why, and I really liked how that part of the book translated to me. And I really feel like Tahira Mafi's writing suited this world as well, because it was just so lush and colorful and whimsical and beautiful, and the way she wrote it just like added even more to that factor that I really enjoyed it. And as you could see, I really think that the cover showcases that aspect of this book, because it just like pops out at you, and I have to say this is one of my favorite covers of a book, like of all time. The next thing that I really liked about this book, keeping in mind that it is a middle grade book, is the theme of accepting yourself and loving yourself for who you are. And I feel like that is a very important lesson that a lot of middle grade children and people in this age group need to understand, you know, like that aspect of this book, because Alice is a person that's ostracized from her community. She doesn't really fit in like everybody else does, and because of that, she has these feelings where she really just doesn't like herself, and she puts herself down consistently. And this book really stresses this message of accept yourself for who you are. Don't put yourself or your abilities down. Just because your abilities or what you're good at isn't what everybody seems to appreciate doesn't mean that you're not good at something, doesn't mean that you can't contribute something to society. You are made as this person, and don't forget that, because you're fantastic. I really enjoyed that journey that these characters went on, and I also really liked the 2 characters of this book, Alice and Oliver. Alice, our main character, is just so relatable, I feel, and sometimes she did stupid things, but ultimately I really loved her character. She is a 12-year-old, you know, so like when she does certain things, you have to understand that this is like an impulsive 12-year-old's way of doing things. Honestly, she was just cute and brave and lovely, and I really liked her character. So now, what I really had a problem with in this book that made me enjoy it so much less, I feel like this might be because I am 18 years old. I feel like someone who's younger, who is reading this book with this, you know, tailored to them, wouldn't have this big of a problem, but I felt like this book was so anticlimactic. I felt like I was waiting for something to happen, and even when something did happen, I felt like nothing happened. Even though I knew something big had just happened, I just felt like nothing had still happened. And it was just, the pacing was not that great for me. Like I said, I was always waiting for something to happen, and even if it did, it like still didn't in my mind. And the ending was just so rushed. I felt like we finished everything, like the resolution happened in like 10 pages when it really shouldn't have. It should have like been dragged out a little bit longer because it was just so sudden and it kind of came out of nowhere. And I was reading this book, I kind of felt like, wow, we have like 15 pages left. Like, how are we gonna wrap everything up? And everything wrapped up like in those 15 pages, but like there was no build up to the wrap up. Usually when I read books, I read the last 200 pages like all at once. And I always take a while to get into the book, reading the first like few hundred pages slowly. And with this book, even when I had like 2 chapters left, I had to keep consistently taking breaks between chapters. I couldn't just sit there and read more than 1 chapter at a time. And that really dulled my enjoyment of this book. So I feel like that aspect of this book, the pacing, just really brought it down a lot for me and really had a huge impact on my enjoyment despite everything else that I said I loved. That was my biggest problem. And I don't feel like I could give this book 4 stars because of how much I struggled to get through it. And that's what's really disappointing, is because I was so excited and I thought I was going to be sucked into this world and love this book so much, and then I didn't, and it took me a lot longer than I expected for it to be done. And I kind of feel like I wasn't really fair when I read Furthermore. Maybe I'll read it again another day and my rating and my experience will change, but I was waiting for an anticipated release. An anticipated release was coming a week right after Furthermore, and I was kind of in the mood where I only wanted to read that anticipated release, but I couldn't because it hadn't been out yet. So I had the chance to read Furthermore before it came out, so I said, okay, I'll read Furthermore because this one's out and the other one isn't. So maybe I wasn't really fair to Furthermore when I read it, but maybe one day I will read it again and really enjoy it and the pacing will be different. But I really had a huge problem with the pacing of this book. So keeping that in mind, if you're someone who likes action and like really fast paced, I'm not sure if this would be the book for you because things are always happening in this book, but like I said, I didn't really feel like there was anything big happening even though things were happening. But I would definitely recommend this book to a middle grade audience. I feel like they aren't as picky yet with what they're reading and the pacing of a book and the world building like older readers are, so they might enjoy this book a lot more and relate to the characters a lot more. So I definitely recommend this book for a middle grade audience. So those are all of my thoughts on Furthermore by Tahereh Mafi. Let me know if you guys have read this book and what your thoughts on it were. We can discuss in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time with a new video. Bye!